Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound Podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
I'm so excited about today's episode as we kick off the Great South Bay Music Festival this week. I have one of the performers, Lex Grey of Lex Grey and the Urban Pioneers. And I tell you, there was so much to learn. I really had a great time with Lex, and I know you're going to enjoy listening to this episode. So let's see her video and listen to her song, In It Together.
Sometimes
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited about my guest today. I've been talking to people who are going to be appearing in the Great South Bay Music Festival at the end of July. And I'm so happy to say this wonderful lady agreed to be on the Long Island Sound podcast. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Lex Grey and the Urban Pioneers are an ever-evolving musical family, teaming with a variety of top musicians and multi-instrumentalists, including gifted writer-musician Ed, and I can't pronounce his last name. How do you pronounce? Ed Wałęsacki? Wałęsacki. Ed W., another Polish fellow like myself. And along with her famous engineer husband, Vic, have produced really some great music. I would say she is a blues diva with a multi-background genre, originally from Brooklyn, so we can include her in the Long Island Sound because Brooklyn's part of the Sound. Welcome to the Long Island podcast, Lex Grey. Good to have you.
Hey, happy to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, hey, you know what I find is so interesting to me is when I speak to artists is, and I'm not going to ask you the typical questions, I hope, is what inspired you to sing and say, you know what, hell, I can do this. I can be an artist. Where did it start for you, Lex?
When I was a little girl growing up in Brooklyn, my chore in the family home was to throw the garbage out. So we'd have to leave the apartment and go down a long hall to a ominous, smelly little room with a chute, and you would dump the garbage into the chute. And I opened the door to the garbage room, and there were like 20 milk crates full of records. And I guess somebody had gone away to college or jail. And they put the records in the garbage room, and I dragged them all back to the apartment, one heavy case by the other. And I went from listening to AM radio hits and Michael Jackson and to finding albums by Led Zeppelin and Janis Joplin and the Rolling Stones.
The volume just crapped out for some
King,
reason. Can you hear me?
And it was like such a wake-up call. I played, every album was like an adventure of learning. This was before the internet. This was
start it again. That'd be great.
Access any information. And here were photos and liner notes and romantic and dangerous stories and the most amazing music. I think the first album I put on was Disraeli Gears because I liked the artwork. And my mind was blown. So, listening to Michael Jackson and then hearing like Disraeli Gears.
Wow.
And then I put on Cheap Thrills because it had, a cartoon cover. And I heard Janis Joplin sing and I said, I can do that. That's just what I sound like. And I love blues music. I used to go to the Salvation Army and just buy whatever records look cool. And I managed to get a lot of old jazz and blues and things like K-Star and I would just listen and sing and, mimic this stuff. So I had, about 700 albums to start mimicking and I got really busy.
Wow. You know what's amazing to me when it comes to, for those who don't appreciate vinyl, back in the day, getting an album, you had to have the attention span, or at least for me, I was always drawn in playing it from one song to the end, flipping it over and playing it again and playing it again. And you did have the album to give you liner notes and all these things.
And reading all the lyrics and all the little pictures and and sometimes you'd get handwriting. Somebody would write something and you'd say, oh, that's the artist's handwriting. And that's what they were thinking when they wrote the song. And it was very enlightening.
Right. And you know what I like, particularly today, I'm seeing more female blues artists on the scene, which was more of a rarity, with the exception of Janis and the pioneers that preceded her. So that's really kind of great what's coming out. But I got to ask you this, Lex. If you had to pick a blues singer that you really say, hey, I really admire this person, who would you pick?
Wow, there are so many. And also like the word blues, blues is a genre, but it also is anything that's not rock, kind of, if you think about it. You know, when you flip around XM radio, it'll say blues, classic, jazz. So I would say, like, I mean, was Billie Holiday a jazz singer or was she a blues singer? You
Yeah, I
know,
don't.
or was she both or all? I have to say, like, I'm an Etta, Ella, Ma Rainey, Nina Simone kind of girl.
Okay,
You know?
gotcha.
Yeah. So when I hear Nina Simone, it's like my blood runs cold. It's so good. You know,
N-
it's just it tingles you up and down your spine. It touches your soul. You know,
Yeah,
this is a person who's not just emoting and singing, but she's bearing her soul.
right.
And that might have been the demise of her career, a lot of people say, but I think I would rather be a revered icon than a one-hit wonder any day of the week. So yeah, you know, and I love Ella Fitzgerald. I love Billie Holiday. I love Ma Rainey, who not only was a really gritty, adventurous, sometimes profane little singer, but she wrote a lot of those songs. Probably all of those songs that she sang, she was the author. And, you know, in the early days of blues, there were actually a lot of female artists. They just didn't get the attention they deserved. I mean, a woman named Ida Cox wrote some amazing songs, and one of them I cover. It's called "Wild Women Don't Get the Blues."
Wow.
So you know, this was 1924, and already the women were showing the men a little bit about what the blues was about.
Nice. You know what? When it comes to artists, as far as the ones that I admire, the ones who do bear their soul in their writing of their song or how they emote, and I don't even like to get locked in or lock an artist into a particular genre because there's so much crossover now, which I think the diversity of crossing over is just so great because it pulls in elements of all these different genres. But, you know, there is risk in bearing your soul, emoting, you know, time and time again. I just can't imagine. But one of the things I always rest on is, and what I admire about singer-songwriters and artists like yourself, is you're able to articulate the things I feel in my heart that I can relate to. And I think that's the best compliment to give an artist, to say, hey, that really touched me. And the more transparent and the bearing the soul, the more, my opinion, the more people you're going to touch.
I agree with you. I mean, I can only hope that my songs are part of the soundtrack of many people's lives, and some of the best compliments I've ever gotten. I mean, it's always nice when somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, I love your voice," or, you know, "I like that song." But what I really love is when somebody says, you know, I really felt that song. I thought it was about me. I thought it was about something that I've experienced. You know, that song really is something that has gotten me through a tough time.
Sure.
Or and that's an amazing feeling, you know, to know that you know, there's individual pain and there's collective pain and there's universal pain, and to tap into the universal pain is also to tap into the universal healing of that pain.
Yeah, and you know, it also, when any of us are going through a struggle and we hear somebody emote the pain that we're currently going through, hey, I'm not alone in this, is sometimes the message that I hear on things. And then, you know, to end it up with hope. You know, every good lament has a hopeful
that's kind of the motive behind the first track of my new album. It's called "In It Together."
Oh my God!
Ironically, written before the pandemic. But when we looked at the song through the lens of like what happened during the pandemic and then the fallout afterwards, it almost felt like a song that we wrote in the height of it. But I mean, maybe it was, you know, whenever you open up your creative channel, you're also opening up your psychic channel and your connection to all the stuff going on in the world. I mean, I'm a spiritual person, so John Lennon had a funny thing that he said, and I might cobble this quote badly, but he basically said all the songs are out there. You just have to channel them. You just have to let them come into you. But all of those messages, all of those things are there. And that, you know, being a yoga person, that's also very yogic. Right? I mean, everything is out there, and most of it is unseen. You just have to see it. You know, what kind of state of mind must you be in to tune in to see it?
Right. Hey, let's do this, Lex. Let's just take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about how you landed Vic, or vice versa, how you guys met, and the Urban Pioneers, your band. And then we'll talk about some of the things that where you're going to be playing and that sort of thing. So everybody, please stick with us. We've got so much to discover with Lex today. So hang with us. We'll be right back.
Attention music lovers. Long Island's music heritage is alive and thriving on the Long Island Sound podcast. Experience the rich tapestry of local artists, from classic rock to cutting-edge sounds. Don't miss a beat. Subscribe to the Long Island Sound podcast on gigdestiny.com and immerse yourself in the melodic wonders of Long Island. Let the music carry you away.
We are back with Lex Grey, having a great time, learning lots of stuff. I got to tell a quick story when I was texting back and forth with Vic, and Vic said, oh, she must have her bee suit on. And I just thought it was just kind of an interesting thought, and I texted him back, buzz, 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 and then I told my daughter the story. She's a big punter. She goes, oh, I guess Lex is a real keeper. So Lex, on that note, tell me how you went from this catalog of albums which were meant for you to discover to meeting Vic, and how your early career progressed. I guess back in the Brooklyn days, right?
Well, as a kid, I was always into theater. I was in some bands. And I really wanted to do that as my, career, but it was much harder then, and it was very hard for a female. I'd always look in the Village Voice, and there'd be like, wanted singer, and I'd show up, and they'd be like, oh, well, you're really young, and you're a girl. I mean, now if you show up to an audition and you're really young and you're a girl, you're probably going to get it. But back then it was, it was a boys' club. Yep. And I remember I used to lie about my age and make myself much older, so they would like even get the appointment, and schedule me. And some people who've known me for a very long time, they're like, Lex, you have to be like 106 now.
Nice.
Because I was like 14, 15, saying, well, I'm 25, I'm 27,
Right.
I just wanted people to think that I was more mature. Now, of course, I want people to think I'm much less mature.
I hear you.
But yeah, I was always in bands, and my family, of course, was not pleased with this and said, well, if you're going to be a theater person and a singer, which, has kind of, has the scarlet letter attached to it all the time. And I was a pretty smart person, and they said, you should go to med school, or you should marry a doctor, or, so I decided I would go to
you need a plan B,
Well,
right?
I decided I was going to go to film school, and I started to work on music videos in the 80s. And I was checking out the bands, and I was like, oh man, my band when I was 15 is better than this band. I just thought that, it kind of was an epiphany that I'm going to gather up enough money working, as an art director and a production designer, and sometimes even a production assistant. I worked in the film business for many years. I built props for the Pee Wee Herman show. I did a lot of crazy stuff. I worked on a lot of B movies, and when the actress didn't show up, they're like, hey, you'll fit the costume. You're blonde. You got some boobs. Get in that thing and get out on the screen. So I managed to land a B movie queen gig one time or another. And
nice.
And then I decided that I had a little money, and I was going to get a band. And I figured by the time that money was gone, I was going to be famous. Well, the best laid plans.
Exactly.
But I did manage to get into a lot of bands that really did play in New York City a lot. And one night I'm out, drunk at the China Club in the middle of the night at the Jam. And I was kind of a regular at that Jam. And this man comes up to me. And he says, I'm a record producer, and, I really want to talk to you. And, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said that. But it turns out this man was Tony Bon Jovi. And he said, I want to make you into the female Bon Jovi. I love your ripped jeans. I love the fact that you play a little guitar. I could tell you were making up songs, and I really like your style. And he wanted me to sign a spec deal with him to work at Power Station. And I said, okay. Yeah, so Tony had me come to Power Station, and he said that, I can record my songs with my band, and he was going to produce it. And I'm thinking, oh God, this is the guy who produced Band of Gold. This is I made it. This is it. And he's gone. He's
Nice.
nowhere to be found. And this guy Vic is there. And I'm like, I called Tony. I'm like, who's this idiot? I thought you were going to produce my album. And he goes, no, this is the guy, and he's going to weed through the tracks, and we're going to figure it out. And boy, we hated each other on site. And he wanted to fire my band. He said, these guys are not serious like you, and I'm going to get you a better group of musicians. Just let this go. And he fires my bands, and now I have no bands. I mean, I'm a person that needs to gig a lot. You can see I have a lot of energy, and I'm going like weeks without a gig. I'm going out of my mind, and he put a band together for me of a bunch of his friends, and we, as a joke, we called them Cowboys from Queens.
Okay.
Because and we made our first album, and it was a pretty great success. The album was called Deal Me In. We recorded it in the old Dr. Brown's soda factory on the Brooklyn waterfront. There was like pigeons in the rafters. It was my friend Billy Basinski, who lived there with his friend James Elaine, were both artists and musicians, and they had commandeered this amazing space and made a little 16-track, 1-inch recording studio. And we recorded the album there completely live. And then we decided to do post-production at Power Station. And the album did get us a lot of attention, and it was really exciting. One of the reviews, I think it was actually in Good Times, Long Island embraced the band. Thank you, Long Island, because you got us. And it said, imagine Janis Joplin fronting the Allman Brothers. I was like, okay. Wow. Unplugged, that is.
That'll work.
So they got what we were, they picked up what we were putting down. And I'm a nature person, and I like to raise chickens and keep bees and have a garden. And I had a really cool place in Brooklyn on the waterfront before Brooklyn became cool. Well, before other people realized Brooklyn was cool. And that was the whole urban pioneer concept, right? Like to live like a cowboy, live on the edge, be self-sufficient right in the middle of an urban environment. So that was our
Nice.
kind of thing, our dress. Unfortunately, some people misinterpreted it as us being rednecks or racists, or, it was really weird. Sometimes we were misread really horribly, and it was bad. I didn't realize that cowboy hats and that stuff meant something else to other people. But
Right. It could be a dog whistle for
exactly,
other things. Yeah.
exactly, which was totally not the intent. But that happens sometimes. But
So I want to jump in. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to jump in because it ties in just something real quick. This is the second interview I've done where there was a Bon Jovi connection, and I just interviewed a guy named Russell Alexander from the Hitmen Blues Band.
oh, I know those guys. They're great bands. I didn't know he had a Bon Jovi connection too.
Yeah, he told me that he said John worked in that studio as cleaning ashtrays and stuff.
Because I guess before Tony made John a star, Tony made John a lackey. Right. Isn't that like the Chris Christopherson story too? Wasn't it Chris Christopherson who was like the handsome guy who cleaned the toilets? And one day they're like, I heard you write songs. Come over here. Let's have a song.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so let's get into this. I never ask an artist what the song means, but I want to talk about the second one you brought to the table, Aches and Pains, which I believe is on your new album. Let's talk about that, and I want the audience to have a listen to it.
I always say, remember when you were younger and you'd get together with your friends and you'd talk about your conquests, your dates, your rest record, your motorcycle, your wild, good times full of abandon. And then you get together, flash forward a couple of decades, you get together and start talking about your procedure and your doctor's appointment and your knees. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about your aches and pains, because we're only as young as we feel in our hearts and our minds. And, the body's going to do something else. But it's really about aging and about hoping to age gracefully and with power.
Hey, everybody, check out Aches and Pains. We'll be right back after the song. Welcome back, everybody. It was really good to hear that song, Aches and Pains. It brought back a lot of memories about conversations, for sure. Lex, I'm really interested. When we started talking before the interview, finding out that you're in upstate New York, tell me about your exodus from Brooklyn and, the life you lead now in the countryside.
Well, the Urban Pioneers were a concept band about country in the city and self-sufficiency in the city, and the city started to really change. I mean, in a nutshell, the band used to rehearse we had a beautiful row house on the Brooklyn waterfront, and there was a bar downstairs. And we used to open our windows of the parlor room really wide and rehearse, and people from the bar would come outside and they'd listen and they'd applaud after every song. And the whole neighborhood seemed to be very on board with all the art that was going on. And then one day, instead of the applause, there was the 311 call, and the 911 call. And the bar eventually closed because it was noisy. And the band was told not to make any more noise. And we realized that the neighborhood had changed. The thing that attracted us to this very artistic, very vital neighborhood had, kind of fallen to, well, hey, this is a nice place for rich people to live.
Yeah.
and
Gentrification, right?
Oh, uber gentrification.
Gotcha.
And we got pretty, well, I can't say we got booted out, but we felt unwelcome. And I don't want to be in a place where I'm unwelcome.
Sure.
So, and we always had been looking in upstate New York for like a little pied-à-terre, a little country getaway, because we're reverse weekenders. So it would, it would be so cool. And, we saw this house when we were up at an art opening, and it was big and it was beautiful and it was not expensive. And I just said, let's make the leap. And but we still clung to that Brooklyn apartment for 10 years. Well, I just kind of thought things would change, but it's like anything else. I lived in the East Village. I lived in the Chelsea Hotel when the Chelsea Hotel was cheap to live in, I mean, nobody wanted to be in certain places, but I always seemed to have blazed that trail and found that place. So I said, this time I'm going to find that place, and instead of renting, I'm going to buy. And everybody said, you're crazy. And now everybody who you think is dead from the East Village or Brooklyn, and you haven't seen or heard from them in a while, you just come on up here and you'll see them living in a yurt and having their circus and their performance and making their sculptures. And yeah, we found another hotbed of artists. Just, we kind of get pushed like a zit, like away, out and away. So, we're in a little more remote place, but I can now keep bees. I can raise chickens. I can have an organic garden. I can teach goat yoga. I can wake up and hike and kayak. And it's, believe me, I need all the help I can get to keep out of trouble. So, yeah.
Well, it's great. And don't take this the wrong way, is that bohemian lifestyle has romance to it. And, you found a new neighborhood. And I remember I spent some time up in Kingston and Saugerties and Woodstock and that, from, I guess, Hudson, New York, down to Kingston, Saugerties, and Catskill and all that, really has that vibe to it and really has that commune with nature and the artistic vibe that continues, even down to New Paltz, I would say. You
can't swing a dead cat without hitting a pickle maker, an interracial gay couple, it's wonderful. A retired opera singer, a mushroom forager. I mean, and everybody is so supportive of each other. I mean, there are people who are roasting organic coffees, and there's even a market on our main street that offers exclusively foraged goods. And I'm an amateur mycologist. I do cultivate some mushrooms, not the psychedelic kind, the edible kind, the salad. And
well, those are edible too, but yeah, there's a different appetite for those. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's a lot of this going on. There's a lot of people raising animals and doing humane, sustainable agriculture. And I think this is the wave of the future. And what fits better with that than a soundtrack for all of these very positive, very earth-friendly things is, music with an attitude and also a good heart.
Hey, just to switch gears, I'd be remiss not to talk about the Great South Bay Music Festival. It's really nice to hear that.
So excited!
Have you done the festival before, or is this your first time?
I have, many moons ago when our Va Va Voom album came out.
Uh-huh.
And I thought we did an amazing job. We had a lot of fun. We had a very enthusiastic audience, and once again, I believe we made a cover story of the Good Times magazine. And I'm just trying to paraphrase, trying to remember what they said, but they said something very cool, like an audience of everything from motorcycle bikers to soccer moms. We're going crazy for Lex Grey's burlesque show.
Nice.
It was not a burlesque show, but the Vava Voom album, did talk about our burlesque years. We were the backup band for New York's most notorious burlesque show, the Vava Voom Room. And we also played a lot of motorcycle festivals in that period. So the band had a certain, let's just say, flavor. There were a lot of fishnet stockings and boas. There was a lot of leather. There was a lot of sass, and
Nice.
and I just thought it was interesting that the reviewer talked about how
Picked up on that.
the whole audience, like from kids to moms to bikers, everybody was like, "Wow, this is amazing!" Yeah, it was one of those beautiful days, and I'm looking forward to another beautiful slot at the Great South Bay. I believe I kick the festival open on Thursday at 3:30.
Great. You're going to actually, if you don't know him, I'm looking at his poster right now. Kerry Carney was a guest on the Long Island Sound podcast. He's a great slide player.
Kerry played on my American Heroine album.
Wow.
Kerry and I have been friends forever and ever. We've known each other for a super long time. And I'm looking forward to seeing Kerry. And Kerry and I actually do shows together to this day.
Nice.
We were together at the Suffolk Theater for the relief for the Ukraine show. Kerry and his band and I have we go back like car seats, let's just say.
That's great. He's a great guy. I was so blessed to get to know him. And
such a great talent, such a great player.
Great
such
stories.
a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what a great connection, So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and I've had the opportunity to have a few of my guests. Cassandra House is going to be there. Who else? Mark Newman, who's playing with Sailing Shoes. Mark goes back to. Who did he play with? It'll come to me.
He played with Dow Jones.
Right.
Dow Jones. Mark Newman and I are old friends too. In fact, Mark played on a couple of things with the Urban Pioneers as well.
Nice. Oh, that's great. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know. It's a big musical family, right? We all have a lot of connections. And I believe Victor produced an album that Mark played on also back at Power Station. So
right.
There's you see how this is satellite? It's going around and around, and maybe at Great South Bay it's all gonna come together.
All right, so now you got to do me a favor. You got to put the influence on Vic to realize that I'm not a jerky guy asking stupid questions, I hope, and send me some guests to talk to, because I'd love to expand the musical family on the Long Island Sound for sure.
I'm sure that can happen.
That'd be great. Hey, let's talk about.
Mind you, now we're we're up in the boonies here, but it's really great to hear that a lot of our old friends, like from back then, are still at it. I mean, a lot of people when they don't make it big, they say, "Oh, well, I didn't make it big in the music business, so I don't do that anymore." You can leave the music business, but if you're a real musician and artist, how can you leave the music and the art? You can never leave it. And if you keep doing it, eventually, like the old adage, if you throw enough at the wall, something's going to stick, and some people are going to respond to it. But, I'm never going to stop writing songs and making music, whether people say, "Yay, this is great," or whether they say, "Oh, I wish that woman would just go away."
Exactly. Hey, talking about the musical family, let's talk about the last song that you brought, How Many Roads, and how that came about. And I'd love to have the audience listen to it.
Yeah, I love that song.
So tell me about it, and let's have the audience listen to it.
Oh, you want me to tell you about it before we listen
please.
to it? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Speaking of, as a musician, as an artist, as a creative person, how many roads will you go down? your life is open for momentary revision, for blowing with the wind, for following a passion and an impulse. And a lot of my friends growing up, they're always like, I don't know how you can live like this. You don't have a paycheck. You never know if you're going to make money. You never know, you make a lot of money and then you don't know, what are you going to do? And what if you don't work for a while? And that's just normal for us, and it's okay. But the best thing is, you might feel a little unstable financially and even spiritually and emotionally because, you don't have anything consistent. But what is the upside? The upside is you never know where you're going to go, who you're going to meet. You're open to all these things. And amazing things happen to you. I mean, pretty crappy things happen to you sometimes. But, it's funny that as time goes on, the story that traumatized you when it was happening can become either A, a great song, or B, a hysterical party story.
Right.
So, yeah, and how many roads will you go down? And the song starts, where it seems a little ominous, but at the end, we ain't that down and out. We're all right.
I agree. All right, let's have a listen to How Many Roads, and we'll be right back after the song. Check it out, everybody.
Hitting the highway, gotta stay strong. Few dollars in my
everybody, we're back. Hey, Lex, tell me about the band that you got and that's going to be playing at the Great South Bay
can't
Music
wait.
Festival.
We actually have like the whole band that played on the album. And since the album was recorded during the pandemic, we all got to be very, very close. You know, this was our pod. And there is a funny video around of us recording Begin Again, and we all had like face shields on. But most of the time we were fortunate enough to be able to play outside in our backyard. And unlike the new neighbors in Brooklyn who called the police, the neighbors up here in the beautiful village of Catskill brought us flowers and beer, and they clapped, and it was so great.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So we have a co-writer of the album with us, Ed Wazalewski, and he'll be on guitar. Of course, Vic Mix, another co-writer, he'll be on guitar. We have the amazing Sonny Rock on the drums, who's also in the New York Blues Hall of Fame, and he's a great impresario of promoting blues around the country. He's worked at blues in the schools. He's one of those just amazing people who really understands the importance of this art form and perpetuates it not only behind the kit, but everywhere he goes. Who am I missing, Vic? Help me. Oh, of course. And on bass, one of the original Urban Pioneers, of course. That's how I can forget, because he's always been around. Tim Farrell on the bass. He joined the Urban Pioneers shortly after we were an acoustic band, and the demand for us to just play bigger venues and to get louder dialed up. And Tim came on board, and he is just a veteran rock and roll guy. He's played with hundreds of bands. He's an amazing, dynamic bass player and a great showman. And yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome show. We're going to take 3:30 in the afternoon and turn it into 3:30 in the morning for you real fast.
Wonderful. I tell you, I can't wait to see you in person, and I can't think of a better person with such great energy to open up the Great South Bay Music Festival. And I just got to say this as an aside. I really love what I do, and I mean this, because I meet people like you, have a great spirit, great energy, love what you do, and the musical community has just been so generous. So I really appreciate your time and spending time with me and telling me a little bit about your story and sharing your music with the audience. Everybody's got to check out Lex Grey and the Urban Pioneers. You'll see, where's it down here somewhere, the connections to her website and her music, and man,
yeah, come see me sometime. Check me out. And it's been a great honor. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Long Island Sound.
All right, be well. We'll talk soon. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment, and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.